Hello friends, and welcome back to this series of videos that I'm doing on responsibility leadership. A few weeks back, I had posted a very important video, Who is a Responsible Leader? Hope all of you have seen that and learned from it. I had introduced 5 key pillars of responsibility leadership in that video, and I'm going to keep doing these videos over the next couple of weeks to give you more and more understanding of this frame. But before we go there, please subscribe to my channel and set an alert for yourself. And also, if you've not seen the previous video, Who is a Responsible Leader? Please take a quick moment to watch that and then come back to this video. Now, today I'm going to talk about the need for a leader to act. Now, going back to my previous video, I had called out the leader needs to continuously develop themselves, rally others for a cause, build their environment, introduce ethical standards, and also work towards sustainability. But in all of these things, the key thing that a leader needs to do constantly, regularly, is act. A leader needs to act, and their actions must lead them and others. I'm not talking about an action imperative. This is not about, in a rush, just going there and doing something crazily. No, this is not. This is about having the absolute clarity of taking an action. Sometimes even complete clarity of not taking an action and preventing others from taking a negative action. And that clarity is what distinguishes the leader's nature and the work from several others who become unleaderlike. So have that clarity and exercise that clarity. Instead of this clarity, what do leaders do? Very often, we get caught up. We get caught up in our busyness. We get caught up under our pressures, stresses, some unhealed part of ourselves, erroneous beliefs, etc. And when leaders and individuals get caught in that trap of busyness, stress, pressures, etc., we tantamount to certain negative behaviors. And what do? We get around and criticize others. We often live in a lot of denial about the problem and keep running away from the problem. Similarly, some of us engage in loose talk, become impolite with others, push others around verbally and through our actions. We also resort to a lot of judging at times. And this leads to a lot of demotivating and demoralizing behavior that some of us tend to carry. In between all of this, when doubt becomes bigger, pressures become big, some of us even self-negate, thinking that we do not have certain qualities to cope up and do the right things. And we end up catastrophizing the situation, saying nothing can happen, nothing can change, those kind of things. Some of us have this whole resource myopia, and then we tend to hoard resources, take a look at a lot of resources that we need to have, or engage in endless preparation towards, getting things done. Others resort to procrastination and not getting going on our own goals and doing things. All of these are fairly self-sabotaging behaviors, and in a way, that also pushes us into a corner, sometimes getting us to take a lot more control or wanting a lot more control on a situation. Another very common thing that I have seen leaders doing is copycatting and trying to become something they really are not. And where is this coming from? A lot of this is coming from sheer jealousy that people experience. All of these, if you ask me, are very unproductive indulgences that individuals, business owners, leaders, professionals get into. Instead of that, what I began the video with by saying, a leader needs to act, and that action has to be of utmost clarity to do certain things which are critical and to avoid certain things which are absolutely not the right things to do. And not just for himself or herself, but a leader also has to make sure that others are inspired to follow the action or avoiding a certain action. Now, what's the test of quality for a leader? This comes from essentially 6 dimensions, as I believe. The first action and the test of action and the quality for a leader is the quality of the intention. How clear are my intentions? Now, in my previous video on who's a responsible leader, I had spoken about the importance of collective wellness, the importance of ethics, etc. And this is where, when a leader learns and masters these, the quality of intention becomes clear. What do I intend to do? What's the purpose with which I am driving things? How am I looking to bring benefit to my organization, my environment, my business, the people around me, society, consumers, etc.? Now, this quality of intention has to translate into quality of actions. And how I go about doing things, preventing shortcuts, preventing unnecessary, negative ways of doing things, etc. And all actions need to be constructive, positive, responsible, something that will stand the test of time. They also shouldn't be band-aids which will come off at some point in time. These quality of action now need to give into a set of quality of effect, which is the third assessment of the quality of a leader's actions. And when I say the effect on people, effect on resources, effect on the environment, as you are doing things, how are others experiencing you? How are others experiencing the environment? And it is only when others and the resources and the environment have the right effect of a leader do things progress and do we start getting the right outcomes. And that brings me to the fourth test of quality, the quality of outcomes that a leader is producing. And this is the point at which, finally, whatever has been the journey sort of culminates and we see the end outcome, the produce, the benefits that a business has had or how an organization has shaped up, etc. And this leads to, the further impact of the business and how we see the brand build, the reputation come up, customer loyalty, employee engagement, and these kind of things sort of start coming up, which is the test of impact. And ultimately, the sixth measure that a leader needs to keep in mind about the test of quality is really how is the leader being accountable towards whatever has emerged. Now remember, intention is giving into action. Action is giving into the effect on people around, which is creating outcomes, and then the impact of things. All of these are things which have emerged. How does a leader handle these? And handle what has happened and handle what has not happened. Does success get to the head of a leader, or does failure sort of pull them down? Does a leader learn from both successes and mistakes, etc.? Now, this brings us to the last element of what a leader needs to keep in mind while acting on things. And this is about upholding standards. Now, in a way, I spoke about the test of quality, and the test of quality will happen if the leader essentially upholds certain standards. And in my previous video, you have heard me say some of these things and share and mention some of these things when I talked about the responsibility leadership and its pillars. But a summary of these things that you need to have. A leader with every single intention, action, etc. needs to make sure that he or she is responding to the here and now in the current situation. There are a lot of times leaders are overtly busy dealing with the past or too obsessed only with the future, whereas the current sometimes holds a lot of important things that we need to unload and work with and unfold so that the business, the profession, the organization can be successful. And it's to that extent that a leader needs to first respond to the here and now. Now, as the leader responds to the here and now, he or she needs to capitalize on the opportunity that lies and what the here and now can open up into with respect to the future. How do we diversify? How do we bring in innovation? How do we exercise caution towards building that desired future that we are working towards strategically, right? And in doing so, the third thing that a leader needs to uphold as standards is always to take others along. Well, there is no point of running alone if at the end of it, there is nobody going to be there to support you or be with you when really things start translating into outcomes and results. So take others along with you. Added to this, the next standard to uphold is build on the positives that already exist. Well, none of us in our environment is really starting from ground zero. Some of us do, but most of us don't. We are already building on something that we already know, learn, or we have inherited in terms of our roles or our businesses, etc. So build on the positives. Build on the positives of your own self, of others, of the clients and consumers that we are working with. And that's another thing that the leader needs to do. The fifth standard a leader needs to uphold is that whatever you're doing with responding into a here and now, looking at the opportunity, taking others along, and building on the positives, all of these end up solving the problem. Because if you don't solve the problem, there is no point of making all this effort that you've been making. And lastly, once you have found solutions to things, once you have created the right kind of opportunities, you need to prevent or guard against relapses, slips, and sort of progress getting eroded. And why that happens, obviously, is that when success hits us, some of us do tend to drop our guard. We tend to get tired, or we tend to enjoy that in the the momentary result, and which is where things slip from our hand. Good leaders also prevent these kind of slips and relapses just when success has happened. So that's a deep description of everything that a leader needs to do to act, to ensure that these negative actions are not happening, to ensure that quality and standards are upheld. But now the question in your mind would be that if you need to know how to act, how do you really go about doing this? So in this play, you need to learn as leaders. And where do these things come? So the first and foremost is that mindset and values will play a big part in this whole thing. In fact, the biggest part. And you as a leader, and each one of us singularly and collectively, have to reason out and find these mindsets and values which are the best for our environment. And it is only then we will know what kind of skills we need. So based on the overall purpose and the goals that we have, figure out the mindset, figure out the values, and then for the skills, which obviously need to be again great because you have to execute, go out and learn. And skills can always be acquired by learning and education. Similarly, you can also acquire what are tool sets. So the skill will be the body of knowledge, and the tool set will be, another important thing of framework, shortcuts, methodologies, systems, etc. that will help you. Tool sets can also be acquired by a lot of learning and education. Sometimes you also have to do some expenditure to, buy or acquire technology, etc. But by and large, you can learn about these things. Now, that was the easier part of it. But the practical side of doing things and acquiring skills and learning and changing can also be possible only if you really have a good coach with whom you are going out there and seeking, finding and executing the right solutions and the right options out there. Especially in today's world where there are tons of things to be done, avenues are less, pressures are high, stakes are high. A coach can be an absolute breakthrough in your success. And what a coach really does is give you a lot of opportunity to reflect, to find the right answers, to optimize, to test, to practice, and be successful. In that journey, sometimes even a mentor can help. And a mentor does a slightly different thing where often a mentor can lead the way when there is a lot of ambiguity around, and also sometimes help a few things become easy. So besides a coach, also find a mentor or two who can sort of give you the direction, who've been there, done it all. But last but not the least, I would always stress on the fact that this is your journey. This is each one of our journey. So no matter how much of resources that we have, coaches and mentors that we have, ultimately the individual has to aspire to excel. And that's the key. Nothing in this world will matter. No education, no knowledge, no grounding will matter if the individual doesn't want to excel. So ultimately, I would say that you as a leader or you as a wannabe leader has to have the desire to act, to do the right things, to avoid negatives, to uphold the right kind of quality and standards, and to find the answers to where you need to go. If you have that intention, rest of it will anyways happen. That's all I wanted to share with you today. And like I indicated, this is a follow-up video to who's a responsible leader. And I covered the concept of a leader needs to act. I will be back very soon with another couple of videos in this series. So do watch out for this corner. Please do subscribe to my channel and set an alert for yourself so that you never miss a video. And talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to me today.